Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Read and Reread. I am Angelia, and welcome to video number 2 in my tag double header today. This is a St. Patrick's Day book tag. This tag was created by ZZ with books, and I was tagged by Kelly with books I'm not reading. Kelly had offered 2 tags in her video, a new one and one that she did last year. And I picked the one from last year because I never did it and the prompts just kind of spoke to me. So I chose that one, but I'm going to link all of these things down in the notes so that you can watch both versions of the tag and think about the questions for yourself. And because tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day, I just decided to do something I don't usually do, which is make 2 videos in the same day because the Mammoth video is timely and the St. Patrick's one is timely as well. And so I just decided to do a little tagapalooza today. So thank you, Kelly, for tagging me, and let us dive into these fun prompts. Number 1, End of the Rainbow. What book did you have a hard time tracking down a copy of? The first thing that popped into my mind was something that happened somewhere in last year. And I had a hard time finding Kiss of the Spider Woman by Manuel Puig. If you were watching my channel last year, you know that my friend and frequent reading buddy and I read Blackouts by Justin Torres, and it sent us on a magical reading adventure of reading the books that influenced that book because we loved Blackouts so much. And one of them was Kiss of the Spider Woman, but we both had some trouble finding a copy of it. So there was a delay until we finally both got a hold of it and could read it. And it seemed to me, from my end, what was happening was I thought surely there'll be lots and lots of copies because this book is from the 70s. But it's kind of gone through a few lifespans. It started out as a novel, and then there was a movie, and then later he wrote a play, and that was a stage adaptation, and then it revived, and then now they filmed it and it's going to be a movie again. And so it's gone through a bunch of different lifetimes. And I did not want a movie tie-in cover. I did not want the play. I wanted the original novel. And finally I found this really cool edition somewhere on eBay. And Michael was separately searching for a copy in used bookstores where he lives. And finally we eventually tracked down copies and we read it. Which brings us to the next prompt, which is Pot of Gold. When you found that book, was it worth the quest? Yes, this is an excellent novel. Even though it was written in the 70s, it's very timely still. I highly recommend Kiss of the Spider Woman. Number 3, Celebrating a Rich Heritage. Name a book that contains a well-developed culture. Well, when you read a question like this, your mind does not usually immediately go to post-apocalyptic stories because those are usually dystopian made-up societies or survival groups or whatever. It's not really a culture. But I have a book that I want to recommend. I have talked about this book before, and that is Moon of the Crusted Snow by Wabgeshig Rice. And it is rooted in a very real culture, the Anishinaabe people in Canada. That is Rice's community that he grew up in and belongs to. So in this story, it's a contemporary story. So a small town that is pretty far from the next major city that is comprised of pretty much all indigenous people. The winter is coming. They're used to different kinds of interruptions. Sometimes the power goes off when there's a snowstorm. Sometimes the internet goes down. So they're not really alarmed when one day things go down. But as the weekend goes on, and one thing goes down after another, and they realize they have no phone service, no electricity, no contact, no nothing, and it persists. They start to realize something greater must have happened, and they're not really sure because they're pretty far away from the next town, and it doesn't really take very long before conditions and behavior start to devolve. But the reason why I chose it for this prompt is because the culture and heritage and community is really essential to the plot and to the main characters in the choices that they make of how to address this crisis, how to respond, how to survive. and the skills that some people have and others do not, and their decisions about protecting the community or protecting their own immediate family first, or what should they do, and how to deal with threats from the larger world. And there's a conversation deep in this book that's really stuck with me, where a couple of younger men are talking to an older woman, and she is telling them, this is definitely not the first apocalypse that our people have experienced. And she begins to give them a little history lesson about survival and resilience and the various forms that an apocalypse can take against an indigenous community. So that's why I chose this book when I saw that prompt. And it also has a sequel, and I'm hoping that the saga is also going to continue. I hope he's working on a third book. All right, number 4, Shamrock Shakes. I have never had one of those. They just look so gross. What's your favorite food to snack on while reading? This snack question keeps following me everywhere I go. And you probably know that it's tea and Cheez-Its or something chocolate, like chocolate chip cookies or something like that. Chocolate or something crunchy. I sometimes I'll vary and do the peanut butter pretzels, which did come back in stock at the store, but pretty much Cheez-Its, either regular or extra toasty, tea, maybe some chocolate. That's the best reading snack. Number 5, 4-Leaf Clover. Name a book you thought would be just a generic book, but it turned out to be something great. Well, I don't think I ever choose a book to read with the expectation that it's going to be just generic, because I have higher expectations for that, or I wouldn't embark on it. But I did think about BookTube prize judging, because sometimes you're assigned books to read that you weren't planning to read. You wouldn't have picked them out for yourself, or maybe you think it's not going to be the right kind of book for you, but now you need to read it because you're going to do the judging. So this year I'm not judging, but last year I stumbled upon a book which was Irish that turned out to be much better than I expected, and that was The Rachel Incident by Caroline O'Donoghue. I had seen this book and maybe at the bookstore, and it just didn't ring any bells. I don't know if generic is what I would have thought, but I guess I would have, well, maybe. I guess I just would have thought it was kind of fluffy, or it was just sort of like a book about young people and their romantic problems and things like that. But then it came up in one of my pools for the BookTube prize judging, and it was really good. I was so pleasantly surprised. I got so caught up in the story, and I decided that the blurb was misleadingly light. It was actually had a lot more substance. It said something like, it's about friends and lovers and romantic stuff in 1980s Ireland. And it was, but it had a lot more substance to it. The relationships were complicated. The people were flawed in interesting but appealing ways. And I just really found the book to be pretty delightful. So that is my selection. Extra points for it being Irish. All right, number 6. What is your favorite tradition for St. Patrick's Day? I don't have any. We just I wear something green. I picked up this shirt. You can't really see, but it has this thing about a St. Patrick's Day parade. This is a thrifted t-shirt. But it's so funny because it says the Chicago Parade. So I thought it was a t-shirt from Chicago, even though I found it in a Texas thrift store. But then on the back, I'm going to put a picture. It has all this nice Irishy stuff. And then it says Kingwood, Texas. So for some reason, Kingwood, Texas has a Chicago St. Patrick's Day parade. You never know what you're going to find at the thrift store. So I guess I did a little bit more when I was still a school librarian. I would read stories in March about Irish folklore and St. Patrick's Day and leprechauns and things like that, and we would have fun with that. But now that I'm an old retired lady, I'll just wear my green, and maybe I'll look for something minty later on. I don't know. And that concludes the tag. I'm going to pass on the bonus questions since I'm doing 2 videos today. I don't want it to get too long. But thanks again, Kelly. If you haven't done a St. Patrick's Day tag, you could do it now. You could do it tomorrow on St. Patrick's Day, or you could do it anytime at all, because why not? So have a great day. I will be back soon, and happy St. Patrick's Day. Bye-bye.